When you get to the gallery, tell Jennifer that she will be looking after things temporarily. She's to give me a ring if there's anything she can't deal with herself. Then go into the office and make out a check for cash for the sum of $5,000. Then carefully, Hillary, remove absolutely everything that might subsequently remind me that you had ever been there, including that yellow thing with the blue bulbs, which you have such an affection for. Then take the check for $5,000, which I feel you deserve, and get permanently lost.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Hello, Bartek. How are you doing?
Good. Ryan Slewinski, that's you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm enjoying the seasonal change that we are going through down here. It has already felt like springtime has sprung, and I'm enjoying that very much. It's nice and sunny today. It's a nice change of pace to, as we sit here about to record our podcast, I can look to one side of the room and see beams of sunlight coming through my blinds.
Yes, the blinds that are covered by the soundproofing,
yeah.
which and a mattress that's vertically up covering part of them.
Yeah. Well, as you know, Bartek, from doing this podcast for a very long time, there are outside noises that need to be blocked out. You know, doors closing in the house that other people use, but also in this particular setting, right next to that window that is covered, people like to park their car there and play their radio really loudly.
Yeah, wasn't there one or two times where they were like listening to...
Several.
Yeah.
It was our podcast I hope they were listening to. We couldn't quite hear it, but I think they were listening to us.
I think it was a live broadcast.
Yeah, they hacked into our signal and we were being echoed through their car. Breaking news, everyone. We are here on our show to talk about a movie, and that's what they were listening to in their car. They heard us. They were like, oh my God, it's breaking news. It's Pictures Powwow with Ryan and Bartek from Spit and Polish Presents, likingly because they're always spitting, and they both happen to be Polish gentlemen. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, it was weird. We didn't get interrupted by ads in that episode.
Never. No random ads. No ads that pop up without permission. It was a live broadcast. But we are here today to talk about a movie that has come recommended. And someone recommended the film. Could it have been me? Did I recommend it? Because one week I recommend a movie. Could it be the listening people? That's right, you, the listening people out there. Did you recommend this week's movie? Because you can recommend a movie as well. It usually comes after my recommendation.
Yeah, there's like a 3 cycle. What was the other one?
I
think it wasn't that one.
Yeah. Oh, did Rachel recommend a movie? My wife, Rachel, the heart of the podcast.
The real second host.
The real second host. The real Pole. Yeah, we're both fake Polish. Rachel's proper Polish.
Interesting.
Let's ponder that for a little while, shall we? By the way, today's episode will be lectored by Rachel.
Oh, cool. A female lector? Wait, female lector?
Yeah, I know. It's a very... we're going to get angry lector letters from the Polish listeners out there. They're like, we don't like women in Poland. Famously, they hate women and their rights.
But Polish people, you have to write your letters in English and then attach like a CD with like a voice file in it. That is reading out your letter, but
you
as Polish.
handwrite your thing in English, but above it in very, very small... No, you write your thing in very small English, and then above it in bigger Polish.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Like, overlay the Polish.
Yeah, isn't that good?
Yeah. Also, the CD would need them reading it in English, too.
Yeah. What was so funny in your mind about Rachel being the secret Pole in the room?
There was a dream I had a month or so ago.
About my wife?
Where you were there, too.
Okay.
And it wasn't even really about her.
Okay.
So I actually had a couple of dreams that weekend that involved you guys. But in this one, it was an alternate reality where she also came from a Polish family. And the 3 of us were visiting her Polish mother. And
she gave us a blessing.
Yeah, she gave us a blessing. And what happened in it? I was trying to show off the fact that I could speak Polish.
That doesn't impress a Polish mother, no.
No, but she was like a very nervous Polish mother, so I was like, trying to calm down. Like, look, I can speak Polish too. And I think it's been a while. I think she She let me sit on this one seat. It's like, I guess it was a good seat on the ground. And the funny detail was on the ground in front of the seat, there was this spoon that had like a bunch of peanut butter on it. I'm like, oh, you dropped this, and she panicked and took it away or something.
I've never been told about this dream before, but I hope I was respectful in it.
You were off to the side. You and Rachel were both off to the side. It was basically
With no
it was
faces,
mainly,
yeah.
it was mainly me and this fictional mother. I've met Rachel's mum. She's nothing like that. Her real
No,
mum.
no, she would have eaten that peanut butter off the floor.
What was one
But-
of the other dreams?
Well, as you muse upon this, let's get real here. You're the other person who hosts this show, Bartek. Mr. K, as the children like to call you.
I literally have a tag from work on that jacket.
That says Mr. K.
It actually says my full name because.
But
it
they
was for the
call you
records.
Mr. K.
That's true.
Because your last name's hard because it's Polish. And you recommended today's film.
That's true.
Guess who's coming to dinner? Did you guess who it was?
Who's coming to dinner?
Did you guess? Did you guess it?
No.
You're now
Tell me who's
asking.
coming to dinner.
Funnily enough, it's Sidney Poitier's parents. They're coming to dinner. And also one Catholic adjacent figure who isn't, like, who's just a friend.
Mm.
Who's just a friend.
There are some great laughs in this film where a character's just leaving a room and they open the door and that character's just sitting there not doing anything.
He's just having a good time.
This was a serious scene, but that's really funny.
We are watching the 1967 film Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Everyone, if you have not watched this before, we recommend you do. It is a classic. It's one in which the premise is what most people know about the film, but the premise is different to how the film actually goes about it, because I think for most people out there, this is well known as a movie about a young interracial couple who want to get married and shocks her parents, her white, rich, privileged parents, and it's about the fallout of that, and can they reconcile their differences, and will this relationship be able to go on from there? But there's different twists and turns, and the way that this focuses in on characters is it's quite fascinating to watch. So everyone, please go watch this yourself. It's out there, readily available. It's a classic. It's a film that has many accolades to its name, and it's definitely one that's worth looking at from a modern lens as well. Because there's things to obviously look at and say, yes, this is dated or no longer applies, but also there's things that still hit pretty true. So everyone, you've been told, but Bartek, you recommended this, so tell us a bit about your history and why this film.
Sure. I'd never seen this film before. Obviously, it was one that I was familiar with because many years ago on the podcast, in like 2017, maybe even 2016, we did Guess Who, the 2005 Ashton Kutcher, Zoe Saldana film. With, of course, Bernie Mac.
Please.
That's
the real star.
No, Percy Jones is
Percy
the real star.
Jones, yeah.
But yeah, I learned about it then. Or at least I was aware of it, but I didn't know the title or, who was in it. Then obviously, a couple of years ago, we did In the Heat of the Night with Sidney Poitier.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned like, oh yes, he was the black fiance in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. So there's like another connection there.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the lead up to me recommending my next film, I think I even mentioned it last episode that I was really struggling to just pick something. I just didn't know what I was in the mood for. I remember we were even having a conversation on Facebook the night before because we'd hung out, and I was telling you about like, my crazy trip home. And even as I was typing that, I still didn't have an answer in my head, and that was pretty late. So I just sat down and I asked myself some questions of like, what kind of thing am I in the mood for?
Yeah, after watching the bucket list, you said to yourself in your mind, I need to watch another film about an old white guy coming to terms with having a black person in their life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I it's weird. The first thing that came up in my head was like maybe something from the 60s. Like I feel like a good film from the 60s. I always enjoy those. And I was asking myself some more questions about like, something like this, something like this, something like this. And I even looked up a whole long list of like iconic films from the 60s, American, obviously, because it's my American pick. And I think In the Heat of the Night popped up there. And I was like, I like that film. Sidney Poitier was really good. I haven't seen him in anything else. And I thought, well, what about the Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? There's an obvious connection to Guess Who. It's kind of fitting this vague feeling that I'm in the mood for. And from what I understand, it's a really good film. So I could really go for something like that. And so that's why I decided on Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
I've seen this before, only once before. I like a lot of the actors in this film. Katharine Hepburn is magnificent in everything I've seen her in. She was an eccentric personality and screen presence, to say the least. She has that voice and that look, and obviously Sydney, he's magnificent, wonderful performer. I still think that one day we should cover the film of his I believe will be your favorite, where he plays a teacher. So that will be a nice little tease. I have it on DVD, actually. But he's such a great actor, deserving of all of the praise that he's ever been given. And when you watch a movie like this, you're just reminded of just what an important figure he was, not only as like one, as an actor, but also as a black man in working in this industry, and how you would do film roles like this that actually tackle that directly, as well as In the Heat of the Night and so many others where they were made at the height of a lot of these things. Heck, by the time this film itself released, a lot of the subject matters or specifics of the subject had already changed.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Just because of civil rights or history itself. They even mentioned Martin Luther King in it, and it's a whole stuff in there to really, really chew on with that. And
yeah,
it's
like the circumstances of while they were filming and when the film came out changed.
Yeah. It's just one of those films I had to check out at some point. I just knew, it's about the white parents who are rich, who are uptight, and they have their bigotries challenged by this young couple. And that's what I thought the movie was, and I watched it years ago, and I enjoyed it. But I think, like many people out there, and I think, this is often what's remembered about the film as well, is the ending is so good. This speech by one of the characters is so hard-hitting, you can't help but have that be at the forefront of your mind when you think on the movie, because it's such a wallop of a performance. There's a lot of stuff happening in the behind the scenes of the production that you can see bleeding through in the screen itself. It's just so many things that you kind of forget, or at least I, speaking for myself, that this film for the most part's a comedy.
Yeah.
Like the 2000s remake was a comedy. Because I think when we talked about Guess Who, the Ashton Kutcher comedy, there was like a lot of reviews of that and discussions about like, isn't it weird that Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, this dramatic acclaimed piece of work that's dealing with race relations during the civil rights era, is now a 2000s horny rom-com? And it's like,
With Ashton Kutcher, yeah.
Well, actually go back and watch Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and see how it's very much a 1960s farce comedy in a weird way, but it also has,
yeah.
But that's the thing, it is, and then it very much isn't.
I remember I had the experience. It was literally this morning. When I watched the film, I did laugh at multiple points, and I did kind of have this like, "Oh, how naughty of me laughing at this film" kind of reaction.
There's a lot of like 1960s sitcom moments and characters. Like we mentioned, the family has this friend who's also like, he's not a priest. He's
It was like an Italian word.
Yeah, but he's basically like their Catholic religious figure, but he's also just a friend. He is like straight up from like a 60s sitcom, that type of character. He's he's very funny. But I was just bathing in that again. Monsignor. He he as a character brings that element, but yeah, this film is it's just so many different approaches and angles you can come in with it as a thing to watch and talk about and digest and muse on, because it's largely a comedy, but then when it isn't, it really isn't.
Yeah, it's very self-aware about like the awkwardness of the situation, and that was one thing that really really appealed to me. obviously I hadn't seen this film before, so I walked in with expectations. Like, I didn't know that the family was necessarily like a liberally minded family. That, there's a whole speech where Katharine Hepburn gives to her husband where it's like, oh, we raised her, to believe that all men are created equal, regardless of, where they're from, what their upbringing is. And we never added in the, addendum of like, but don't you dare bring home a black man. She turned out exactly the way that we raised her. Like, the film goes out of its way to set up the fact that these parents are, perfectly set up to accept this kind of relationship. And they even have the whole setup of, Sidney Poitier's character is basically like the perfect
person,
husband person. He's a, acclaimed doctor. He's got this revolutionary plan to save millions of lives. There's like nothing to criticize there. So you can safely just have what about the race aspect as the topic of conversation and see how somehow this one little element can cause the whole conflict of the film.
And because of that and the specific type of friction that's caused, there's a lot of underlying racism to explore, because it's not as if the parents are just like, oh, they discover secretly that they're racist and they're like, we don't like black people. It's more that, and Spencer Tracy's character outright says this, they're afraid of what other people think. They're afraid of what their child will have to endure. They're afraid. They're not hateful. They're not like, oh, I thought that I was accepting until I met a black person and blah, blah, blah. But they have a lot of their notions of being progressive, understanding people thoroughly challenged throughout the film.
Yeah,
and
the Monsignor really pokes at that.
Yes, he does. But also so does their housekeeper, but in her own very aggressive way, and the way she reacts to things as well. It also challenges them, but she's challenging in a different way. Like, it's very, there's a lot to think about with this. But just to cut to it, Sidney Poitier, he's so good. He's so charming and likable, and we talked about this when we did In the Heat of the Night. He is one of those actors that the camera just captures so beautifully. Like, you want to follow him in every moment. You want to hear him say so much because he's so well, like, the way he chews through dialogue is just so mannered, but there's so much emotion to it. Like, when the scene that really was my favorite of all of this was when he was telling off his own father. And it was just, I wanted to watch the whole movie of that. So, like, that's just because of his performance and just the rawness he captures, because his character, as well as what we've seen of Sidney Poitier as an actor, he's so good at this upright posture and the shoulders back, and I'm mannered, I'm dignified, I'm keeping my cool. But from just, what these situations are, and again, it does directly tie into race and class and privilege, that there's always going to be something bubbling underneath that nice presentation he has. And at some point, he's going to snap. And you just want to see him snap. And when he snaps, when Sidney Poitier snaps in the two films we've seen, it's not like, oh, and now we see him angry. It's more, now we see righteousness. That's very different than anger. There's like a righteousness.
Indignation kind of thing. Yeah.
And you're on his side. You're always on his side. When, like, in the heat of the night, when he smacked a white person, you're like, yeah, baby. Yeah, do that. Woo! And then this movie, when he yells at his own father about, like, you think you're owed this. No, you're not. You're like, yeah, I know what that sensation's like.
And then even when he calms down, he adds in, like, I'm your son, you're my father, I do love you. But he gives, like, the more kind spin on it.
You think of yourself as a colored man. I think of myself as a man. That's the difference.
Yeah. One thing I just really love about, going back and checking out these classic films is when they have this structure where every scene is basically just exploring the central question from a new angle or just pairing up different characters to, discuss the situation.
Yeah.
It just feels so thoroughly explored. I will say, obviously, I love this film quite a bit. To the extent that I almost feel like I wanted to see more of the father, because Sidney Poitier's parents come in quite near the end of the film, so they don't get as much time, and that's actually part of the film itself. Like, as much as
it's a film that takes place all in one day, basically.
Yeah. Like, and the second half of a day,
Yeah.
like not even the morning. And not Sydney's father, the white father.
Yeah, Spencer Tracy. Yeah,
Spencer Tracy. He's struggling with it the most because he's like, I've only got this one day to think of it, and I've only had these 8 hours. And these black parents who come in later on in the film, like, well, we've only had 4. Think how we feel. And yeah, you get so many like different combinations even in that short time, but it feels like, the mother got to like kind of talk to almost everyone. Father, not so much. It was like the other father and his son.
They even have discussions about how both mothers react in the similar way, and then why the fathers aren't. And Sidney Poitier's mother, she has a whole stance on it, and about like, why is it that old men forget? Why is it that they lose the idea of what it is to love? And that is, again, what really speaks the most to Spencer Tracy's character, Matt. Like, that's what speaks to him the most. Like, he even says that in his big speech. Like, that's what got to him. Because it's like, no, I don't forget, but in this moment, I'm so caught up that I'm not considering it at all. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? And I like this film very much. I respect it. I enjoy it. There's some aspects of it that I'm not as huge into. There are aspects that are dated, but as I mentioned earlier, and you read this online, people watching this now, and that we live in this age where people just give these little one-sentence snarky reviews where it's like, oh, this movie is dated. It's like, isn't that a good thing? In a lot of the ways of this movie, like, isn't a lot of the things that you could put in quotations, it's dated, either good, or you could argue not fully, because there are still issues between interracial couples that exist in this world.
Yeah, for sure. There was a couple of different criticisms that I saw online, and all of them, I didn't necessarily have a perfect, counter opinion to, but I could come up with something that's like, well, the film's going for a certain thing. Like, this is definitely a film where you have to take the era it came out into account, because what was it, like half a year prior to starting filming or the film coming out, only then did interracial marriage become legal.
Yep.
So the, big moral purpose of this film is to represent an interracial relationship as being something that isn't a big deal. That's why Sidney Poitier's character is presented as a perfect character. Yep. That's why, it is a bit simplistic in a lot of aspects. And from the comedy angle, I saw a lot of people were criticizing the female, the female fiance,
the fiance,
Joey, as being a pretty one-note character, even the actress herself. And
I agree.
I do agree as well, but also from looking at the film from a comedic angle, that's kind of the purpose that they're using her for.
Yeah, but it's that thing of every other character gets to flick between comedic and dramatic. She never does.
It's a really...
She remains in this almost idiot lane throughout the movie, where it's like, I lose sympathy for her character, because it's like, how dumb are you? Like, I understand your optimism and all of that, but like, are you completely ignorant? And then that brings up so many questions that the film isn't asking.
Yeah, for such a poignant film that, you'd hold some reverence for, it almost feels really weird that, one of the central characters is so one note.
If the fact that their random old man friend has more complex thoughts about the situation and he is presented as a comedic relief, what does it say about her that she doesn't go beyond him?
Yeah, she's just so happy-go-lucky that she unknowingly causes more conflict when there's already so much to grapple with.
To go through some of my issues with the movie first, because we've talked about it fairly positively, and I do feel positively about this movie. I don't love the middle of the film where the their characters separate off and go like outside the house.
Mm.
I'm fine with when they go to the airport to pick up his parents, but like there's the whole bit where it's like, oh, the
ice cream,
or the singer and the meeting up at the bar. I don't care for any of that. Like to my mind, this is one of those, oh, this is a play on film.
Yeah,
type.
Stick to the house.
Stick to the house.
Or the airport, I guess.
Stick to the house, the airport, around the house. That's where the drama is. That's where I want to be. I want to be stuck there. I don't want to get ice cream and then have the dad crash his car into a black man's car just to further emphasize the point we already understand. That's my biggest gripe with the movie in terms of like pacing, because it's fairly well paced. This movie is just under 2 hours. And pretty much every combination of characters that talk to one another is so engaging that you almost want it to be a one-act play of each one of them talking to each other, because there's just some fun stuff that even with what's her name again, the fiance, Joey, even her talking to her own mother, I could watch that go on for longer. Like that's what I mean, like I could watch these. So there's a lot of praise of like how well these characters are performed and written, but yeah, when we stray away from the format, I don't want it. It's like, oh, we're kind of getting to more hokey 1960s bullshit. There's also just characters that exist in the movie that I'm like, you exist to just demonstrate a point, but you aren't a character. The most obvious being, there's not the housekeeper.
There's like a second lady,
younger black woman, and she gets into the car with like the meat man delivery driver,
guy.
And they're there to demonstrate further how the youth are either naive or so optimistic that they don't see the problem of interracial relations like the older generation does. But that's all it is. Like that's all it is. And it's like, I don't need these characters who's dancing to 60s funky music. I already have this family unit who's now being introduced to this new figure. That's all I need. I don't need these two who exist to live up to Garth Marenghi's phrase of, I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Yeah, I kept them, especially the second housekeeper lady, in mind, because she's introduced in this very interesting way where it's like, oh, you know, we saw a lady walking through the hall. It's like, who's that? It's like, oh, that's such and such. She helps out every now and then.
Yeah, Sidney Poitier has a lot of fun, jokingly flirty, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, how's she going to factor into things? And like, yeah, she goes off with the delivery guy who's just very, very much a character.
Very much a 1960s movie studio thinking this is what the youth are like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the coolest character in the film.
Just like James from Twin Peaks. So cool. Has always been cool.
Yeah, even before he appeared, he was cool.
Yeah, he was so cool.
Yeah, and I kept them in mind, like, okay, how's this going to factor into the rest of the film? And when the film was over, I'm like, oh, that was a really good film.
What happened to them?
And then I realized, their purpose was just to indicate that, you know, the youth are already kind of being progressive. Oh, okay. It didn't feel as tight as, you know, everything else in the film.
No, not at all. And then my other thing, and this is obviously the thing that does get brought up, and it is also like an aspect that has helped influence art since, which is the criticism that you can have of this story is about the white parents more so than the black man.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Peele made Get Out as a partial response to this film, where that film is all about the black man and how it's like this horror situation to meet his girlfriend, like his white girlfriend's parents, and they're rich and they're liberal and they're nice, but there's also like this underlying tension. This movie, it almost presents it like that, but then it so very much pivots to, but how do the parents feel about this and how are they going to react to this? And I don't mind, but it is a thing where Sidney Poitier is so good that I do want him to be the lead of the movie, but it really is Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. They're the leads of the movie. They're the characters that have to go through so much. And it is a part of, like, nowadays, it wouldn't be this way. The focus wouldn't be in this way. That's why when they did Guess Who, and this isn't me being jokey, when they did Guess Who, they swapped it around. They made it black parents and the white boyfriend. They swapped it around because you couldn't do it the same way again, where the focus is on the white parents, because not to be so flippant, but who gives a fuck about the white parents' feelings when you want to know about the black man's feeling? How does he feel? The movie does a sufficient job, but I want more because it's a more interesting story, but also Sidney Poitier is so good that I want more time spent with him. But so are Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. They're so good that I'm not complaining, but it is something to raise because it is something that is held against this movie. But it's also influenced media and art and discussion since then. Like the poor white guilt movie. When it's also like, should also be a film about like how do the black people actually feel about this? But it's a lot of these poor white rich people.
I mean, at least you can say that with The Couple, you got more Sidney Poitier than the white fiance.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a decent enough balance in this film. It definitely, as it goes on, skews a little bit more towards the white parents, but it does still have that kind of ensemble nature to it, I reckon. Especially once you get all the characters together and you kind of jump between a lot of them, except, again, the Joey.
Not a thought in her head. I do appreciate that I was getting so frustrated with Joey and Sidney Poitier in the movie. I was getting so frustrated with both of them, like how unreasonable this whole thing was. Like, I get their point, but it's also so annoying. And I like that the end of the film is about, like, that is the point. Like, both sets of families are pissed off. In part because of this, like, enforced, you have to accept this right now, and if you don't, you're a monster. It's like, that's not how it works.
It's very understandably frustrating, yeah. And I do like that one of the big points of that final speech is just like, hey, you don't have to care what we think. Love's enough. To the point that when the father actually did say, like, oh, I am okay with this, it's like, oh, okay, I would have been fine if you were still, kind of not okay with this, because you made the point that, like, hey, my answer doesn't matter. Yeah,
it does, exactly. But also, I'm a sucker. I wanted him to accept it by the end.
No, of course, me too.
But there's a version where you could have it like that, and it would make sense because of the sentiment still stands.
Yeah, and I really liked the way the film structured a lot of his scenes, because obviously he's for the most part of the film, he's the one that's most disapproving of it. Obviously, once the other father comes in, he's a bit more, single-mindedly against it. But you had a lot of moments early on that really kind of grounded his opinion. I especially liked, I think it was like the first time where it was just him and Sidney Poitier, like, out on the backyard, and they had all these conversations. You can tell that the father was, like, really growing kind of fond of him. And even when he got, together with his wife again and was talking, like, he's got this amazing plan, the darndest thing, find the brightest kids in Africa, train them in a specific medical field, and you can save millions of lives just from that, from each one. To the point that when you've got more scenes of him, like, being disapproving, like, oh, I thought you were kind of won over.
But that's the thing, isn't it?
It's not that simple.
Exactly. And these parents, specifically him, are finding out how much they put on a facade, because he can talk and have this wonderful moment of respect and connection and see all of this stuff. And then he goes to his den and he phones up people to check the legitimacy of this man and wants to find dirt. He wants there to be something wrong. But, not only literally is he putting on this facade of niceness and being very conversational, he's doing that to himself, as his wife points out. Like, we have always said, like, we are liberals and progressive and we espouse these values, but we never had to have it happen to us. We never considered what happens if this happened to us? What happens if a black person entered our lives as an equal? Because that's something too. The film, they do have a black person in their life, but they're literally the hired help. And it's that part of it's more of an unspoken thing, but it is in the movie of, like, that irony there of, like, oh, we never thought this would happen to us, but they do have a black person in their life, but they are the help. There's still a difference there. While this man who's going to marry into the family, he's a peer, he's an equal. And that's different. That is different for them. And like, how much are they willing to, chew through that? And it's like, well, the answer is apparently it's very, very difficult because they never thought it would happen to them. They never thought their daughter would get into this, even though they raised her to be this.
Yeah, again, I like that element.
They damn themselves.
I like that element of Katharine Hepburn's speech. Like, she's exactly the way we raised her, ironically.
Yeah, it's...
She makes complete sense.
Yeah, she does. And it's... But it's a way of, like, she makes complete sense if you think of a person not having any facets, because she is nothing but their ideology in its purest form, but, like, she's so naive and dumb, and she doesn't consider anyone outside of herself, and it's like, but it's not presented as selfish, it's presented as wonderful.
She's
and I'm like,
just the ultimate Pollyanna.
Yeah, she's just a happy-go-lucky 1960s girl.
The worst thing she says is she calls a character a bitch.
Yeah, that is true. She does do that. Like, this is... So I was looking up the cast. That actress of Joey was the real life niece.
Yeah, Katharine
Hepburn.
Loughton.
Yes, real life niece of Katharine Hepburn. She hadn't done much acting. She's fine in the movie, but she to me stands out as like the most of that era type acting, like that. The way that she talks is very much like how you get in these movies and shows, and everyone else feels different to her. From the supporting characters to even like like Sidney Poitier, he feels like of a different ilk than Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn, but they all feel different to her, to Joey. She feels very much like Golly Gee. But I was looking up the cast, and I was just looking at like, okay, what are some fun things about these? And so we talked about the priest, who's not a priest, he's Monsignor. He's what an interesting figure he is. Ton of stuff, a million things, that actor. Of course he was. He's one of those guys like, you're on a million things, aren't you? Yeah, of course. His son, though, was like a medical guy or scientist guy, and he helped invent the EEG or whatever, which is like a method of scanning the brain and whatnot. And it was used
I've heard of it, yeah.
It was used on Jack Ruby, who was the assassin of Lee Harvey Oswald. And it was like the first big time this thing was used and helped legitimize this kind of thing. And I'm like, how funny, because this movie kind of is in this interesting historical period of time, like when the movie's set and when the movie came out. Just thinking about society in America and like how volatile it was, and like this idea that Joey has of like, we're in this peak of optimism and things are going to work out and we're doing civil rights, and this idea of bigotry we no longer are going to have to hold on to, and how that is crashing down around Joey, but she doesn't even realize it. Like every other character realizes that this idea of like 1960s groovy love that Austin Powers believed in isn't true. And like you think about it in the real life of like what happened, like this movie talks about like, Martin Luther King Jr. got assassinated before this movie came out. And it's like...
there was a trivia point like the producers or something had to call cinemas and say, you need to cut out that line where they reference him.
Or, all of the JFK stuff that I was just kind of going over, or like, the laws that they would be breaking if they got married. And by the time the movie came out, that wasn't true. And
14 states, this is illegal.
Like within most people's life, like within most people's memory of when this movie came out, segregation only was just finishing up. It's just like so many things to look at with this movie in terms of like the characters living within it and the people who are watching it at the time. And there's just so much to take in when we're watching it today, and how much things have changed. Not just in terms of like their acting style and the way that their fashion is, but all of these societal things that, we may take for granted outside of like some specific pieces of work. Like it was so funny you were talking about like how maybe simplistic some of the messaging is in this. And it made me think of like Star Trek in the original series, where it would have similar type of messaging style, but it's like this 60s like, hey, we're in the throes of the civil rights and Vietnam's happening around us and all of these things are happening. And we're just going to use the medium of art to just directly go for it. And who cares if it's a subtle swing of the sledgehammer or not? And I just kind of admire it in a weird way. Like we have a lot of it nowadays with movies too, but like there's this more artsy approach. Well, in this one, it's like the premise of the movie is how would progressive white people feel if they actually had to throw their hat in the ring of race relations. And it's like, well,
even with the perfect circumstances.
Yeah. What else do you want to say about this movie? What are other things on your mind?
Let's see. I think there was some trivia point talking about like, oh, we never actually got to see the dinner. We just got to see them sitting down for the dinner.
A lot of people make jokes about how, where's the dinner and guess who's coming to dinner?
Are those the one sentence reviews?
Yeah.
There wasn't even a dinner.
Did you know that Spencer Tracy was dying during this movie? Like, that's all the trivia of this movie. It's like, he
17
died.
days after that final speech.
I mean, Katharine Hepburn is literally weeping in his final speech because it's like the last time she'll get to see him act, and you feel it. You feel like the history. Like, they did 9 movies together. It's like,
a lot of the trivia was talking about like she could never watch the film in its entirety because it just reminded her of him.
Yeah, because they have like they had like a famous Hollywood secret relationship or not.
Open secret. Something.
Well, here's the thing. With all of these golden age Hollywood things, there's always secrets upon secrets, rumors upon rumors. The rumor is both of them were gay, and there was actually a beard type relationship because Katharine Hepburn came across as a big lesbian, and he came across, and he was very
secret beard relationship.
Yes, and he was very Catholic, and on it goes. Like so many rumors still swirl to this day. I don't know what the truth is, but the truth is, you see on the screen that they cared for each other very much, no matter which way you cut it.
Yeah.
And there's just you can't fake that. As good of actors as they are, that's just real stuff on the screen, and it helps make the movie even more than what it is.
Yeah, she was great in the film.
Oh yeah,
I liked how she obviously, when she was first shown, oh, this is what the story is about. She was obviously against it, but she still had these little comedic moments of like, well, I have the right to say my goodness, don't I? It's like, yes, you do. Oh, well, my goodness. But yeah, the way she accepted it, I really liked. She was just seeing her daughter's happiness. She was empathizing with that. She saw, her past self. And then later on in the film, she talks about how the happiest time of her life was when, the early days of being parents and seeing her husband struggle and able to support him there. Feeling proud of the fact that she could have been that support. You really understand why she was able to accept this whole situation so wholeheartedly.
Oh, yeah.
And just that contrast of, why he's not able to. He doesn't have that same connection. And, you bring in the other mother, who also in the, the black parents couple is a little bit more accepting of the relationship. And that's why that she had that scene with the white father.
Yeah, Matt.
And that helped him. So it's like, the motherhood side kind of helps the situation in the end.
And just the rebellion and the standing up of the younger generation as well, because, as much as I give shit to Joey, she does throughout the movie argue against her parents and the way that they're like shocked at how narrow-minded they're being. And Sidney Poitier more aggressively, more firmly argues against his father about being so staunch and like you feel like you're owed and you feel restricted and cornered and you feel hatred. Why? Let's just get into it. And it's exhilarating stuff. I loved Katharine Hepburn's reaction to seeing Sidney Poitier, just the look at her face, because the sequence is so long before she gets to see him. She's like, they're talking about all this stuff. He's in the den on the phone, and you just know it's gonna happen, and it does, and it's just great. And then you contrast that with the father Spencer Tracy, he's just like, oh, great, hello there. And he thinks of him as a guest. He's
Yeah,
like, oh, hello,
yeah.
how are you doing? Oh, very respectful. Well, we'll talk about this later.
There's
Okay.
a lot of weird hyping up where it's like, oh, hell done broke loose. And then he goes and there, it's like, what's going on, doctor? Oh, yeah, he's a doctor, but it's all good. We'll tell you later. And he's kind of like, okay yeah,
I'm off to golf now.
You'll tell me later. I'm going to go off to golf. He's like halfway through the living room undoing his tie, and he just realizes.
He figures it out.
Wait a second. I need to know now. This is way too weird.
I like that he already knows. He already basically figures it out, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
was the Katharine Hepburn one, was that the one where, like, Joey doesn't realize that he's entered the room?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was good.
There's a few moments like that where people don't realize the other person's entered the room and they're talking, and then there's that moment.
Yeah,
always worked, though. Always worked.
There's something you need to know. I think she's already realized it.
I liked in Spencer Tracy's big monologue at the end that he detailed all the ways people have been trying to change his mind. And he's like, and this man here, he used all these platitudes. He's been my friend, and just half an hour ago, he offered to wrestle me. And it's just like the look on all the other people's faces because they don't have the context for their relationship outside of Katharine Hepburn and Joey. They're just like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is this all about?
You could have had a line from, it's like, well, that's true, actually.
Oh, my. But I like that there was no. It was just smile, nod, like just a little, because he's in the seriousness. I also took a breath of relief of that character. Because he is well-read and he's religious and he has to deal with a lot of people, he was just so open-minded as well. And it's like he knew of Sidney Poitier's character through just reputation. He already knew who he was. Like, he was a person that could verify for him, like, he's like a legit.
He's like, oh yeah, I've read about this guy. He's great.
which is, but even then, in some conversations, he has his little slip-ups or his little moments of racial insensitivities. Like, he's not a perfect character either, but he's still more open-minded, and he's still shocked at the lack of open-mindedness and the fact that you could revert to such a way when you're challenged.
He's the one character in the film who, upon, realizing the couple didn't have the look of like, oh my God. He was like, oh yeah, okay, cool.
The filmmaking. We haven't talked too much about the filmmaking. It's very fly on the wall. It really did actually kind of remind me in many ways of Ozu with Late Spring. Just very mannered, very slice of lifey, not too show-offy. There's only one moment where it gets very show-offy and it gets very intense, which is the big confrontation of the housekeeper.
Oh, yeah.
And Sidney Poitier, where it goes Dutch angles and it flips around. And I thought it was actually very effective. I was taken aback, and it's like real close up. Like, you can see their pores and the sweat. It's just so, it actually made me think of In the Heat of the Night with like how just intense that movie's visuals
when
were.
She left the room and the Dutch angle corrected itself, it's like, oh, wow, I actually feel a little bit better now that that's over.
What did you think of that character, the housemaid, the one who, she does have a problem with this black man. Like, she outright says it, and she herself is a black person.
Yeah, she had that line about, like, stepping above his station or something like that. Yeah,
And he's not even good looking, which is a fucking lie. I like the look on his face of, oh, that's not true. Like, 'cause come on, he's fucking hot. You're kidding yourself.
He's a good looking guy. Yeah, I guess because she is a black character, she had the freedom to, more outwardly express exactly what she was thinking and, kind of get the wheels turning a little bit on other characters, thinking about the situation. Yeah, very, very, I guess also from, watching the film from a white perspective, seeing the angle of very early on of like a black character being against this, it really sets you up for the parents later on also having very understandably similar concerns to the white parents.
Yeah, I like too with the housekeeper and his parents. There's still different degrees of resentment towards this, because for his parents, specifically for his dad, like, it's like you are making a mistake because you're now going to give yourself challenges. I've lived my entire life making sure that you can be free and live to the best of your ability and not have to suffer. Your mother has gotten to this point where she's given up even little things because she wants to help you. And now you are choosing a life of misery. That's where he's coming in from. But the housekeeper, on the other hand, she, and she's a part of the older generation as well, she's lived her life in servitude of white people. And
she's been in the family 22 years.
As she says, like, he is stepping out of his role as a black man. Like, you're going above your station. You're not supposed to do that, because that's how she's lived her life. She's lived her life at this level. His parents did not. Like, they may have had like lower class jobs and whatnot, but it's not like they lived in that mentality, because they raised their son to go above that mentality as well. But it doesn't mean that they're not immune to these self-doubts and loathing and anger. But the maid, the housekeeper, she's different to his parents, but she also has this like resentment of this black person getting with a white person. But hers is from drastically different walk of life for why that is in comparison to his parents, which I thought was an extra detail added to this that just made it feel all the more poignant and just thought-provoking. And yeah, like you said, as white people, we watch this and we go, oh yeah, well, Shield obviously, like the black characters will be much more open-minded. No, they have their problems with this as well, but they're nuanced and they're different from one another too. So very good.
Yeah, she was a lot more reactionary than the parents, especially in that confrontation scene where she was almost like fake foreshadowing, like, I know what you're about, I know what you're going for. It's like, oh, foreshadowing that he's actually the villain and she's the only one that can see his true self.
Stanley Kramer was the director of this film, and he an eclectic filmmaker. A lot of his films do usually have like a courtroom setting or like a thing, but drastically different tones. And not all the time. Like, he had ones that are cross-country films. So he did Judgment at Nuremberg, which is a very heavy film, obviously. And
is it about Nuremberg?
Yes, of course. It's all just in the court. Here's the Judgment of Nuremberg, and there's a lot
is
of
it good.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like a good one.
And Spencer Tracy was like the lead of that. And Spencer Tracy was in a bunch of his movies. So there's like this connection. But also so was Sidney Poitier, because he also did The Defiant Ones, which is one of the other big Sidney Poitier films in which
Is that the chain gang?
Yes, where he is in a chain gang and they run off and he is chained to a white man. And it's basically the setup to that type of story, like Enemy Mine, for instance, did a similar thing. Like these two...
Pikachu and Meowth.
Yeah, Pikachu and Meowth, of course. But he also did, funnily enough, I'm pretty sure he did It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, which is like a cross-country Looney Tunes
I've heard really good
around
things
the
about
world silly comedy, which also had Spencer Tracy in it. So... He just has an On the Beach, which is a very famous like adaptation of a book that's like about post-apocalyptic stuff here in Australia. Kojima, the video game designer, references it in pretty much most of his work. His latest video game, Death Stranding, is called Death Stranding on the Beach. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, I just wanted to reference Stanley Kramer because, you know, the direction doesn't show off here, but it is one in which the best way to describe it is it's an actor's movie. And there are actors-directors, you know, where there's directors who are good at the technicals, and then there's those directors who are good at bringing out performances. And I think looking at his stuff, he was very much that type of person. It's like, I want these great performances. I want these memorable performances. Here's a movie about Nuremberg. Of course, it's going to be about those performances. Or, you know, here's a movie about like wacky races across the country. And I think a lot of people nowadays still remember that film for many things, but one of them is these memorable character types. Like The Simpsons references that movie all the time, and it's like, hey, you remember the character types, like man who's wearing like those horn-rimmed glasses just yelling. It's like, yep, I remember that. And it's just so many things. But I have a big question for you now, though. Did you watch The Glasses? I told you at the end of our last discussion, watch The Glasses, and you said, what type of glasses? And I said, no, I'm not going to tell you. You have to look out.
So I'd forgotten that you said that, but I'd noticed.
Please explain.
Yeah, so there's obviously, we basically talked about how the main character of this film is basically, the white father. And this father wears glasses. Or at least he wears the frames of glasses. Because I was noticing there's not really much reflection happening in these glasses. No smudges. They're either pristine or the glass does not exist.
And they don't exist.
They do not exist.
The first thing I remember, the first thing I noticed in the movie when I watched it was it took me out so much because I'm watching this movie that's trying to, for the best of its abilities, be a rather confronting, grounded situation. And then there's this guy not wearing real glasses. And because as much as I say this is like a play on film, it doesn't have that level of detachment where I can forgive there not being glass. It's not like they live in a house that feels like it's too much. And I watched it again this morning as well, and it's the thing I just couldn't help but during his big speech, I'm like, fucking take off those fake glasses. But the glasses make the character too. There's just so much in there, and I just don't know why. I mean, guess worried of reflect.
It really made him look like the guy from Up.
Yes, yeah. But it just throws me off. But I said to you, watch for the glasses. And
you were trying to get me out of the film.
I thought you would have some fun with it.
Yeah.
It's the type of thing that I think you would enjoy.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I was noticing, but I was still into the film. Just like, oh, this is really good. He doesn't have glass in the glasses, but yeah, okay.
Anything else you want to go over with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? The mother of Sidney Poitier, she was in The Heat of the Night as well.
I saw that, yeah. I didn't remember her, but
Carrie,
I really liked her character, for as late as she's introduced and, everyone's so established, she just had this very gentle, beautiful soul that really came across.
That actress, her performance in particular, but also the way she was, dressed and made up, very much reminded me, I know this is a weird one to pull, of Sam Jackson's mother in Unbreakable. Very much reminded me of her.
Yeah, that's a good pull, because he's about that old, right? Maybe just a bit younger?
Yeah, but the way she, her character was made up in the film, especially when she got older, because obviously this actress playing his mother is made up to look, both of his parents are made up to look older.
Was she in Glass as well?
Yes, which was insane. Because she was really old in Unbreakable, even though the actress was the same age as Sam Jackson. But it made, you could kind of get away with it. But then in Glass, this is 20 years later almost, the cake got even more, it's just so absurd.
Yeah, that kind of conservative religious black parent from mid-20th century kind of look.
Yeah. But no, she was good.
Only other thing is Percy Jones.
I actually was going to leave this as the big final question for you, and I don't want it to be a joke answer. I mean this sincerely. You have said on this podcast one of your favorite films that we've done or you've discovered through it was Guess Who.
It was a lot of fun, yeah.
It was a lot of fun, but I do want to know your opinion on Guess Who now that you've seen Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Has it shifted that much? What are your just baseline thoughts of now you've seen the thing it was riffing on?
I'm keen to check it out again now having this in mind because it is such a different film. I feel we were talking about how in this film there were characters that we wanted to follow a bit more, and so there was a bit of an irony that we were going towards the parents so much. I do recall that film being a bit more balanced. Yeah, a lot of Ashton Kutcher and Percy Jones
warring with each other. Very much a Meet the Parents influence.
Yeah, and I remember a standout scene, and I guess Roger Ebert's review really highlighted it, but they had that scene at the dinner table where they were telling the racist jokes, and it felt like, a very honest scene where they were talking about something insensitive, but they were also kind of enjoying themselves. Connecting in a way. And them laughing at the truth in a bunch of things. I remember there was one joke where it was black man, he's really got to have this thing, and then someone pointed at one of the other family members and that's true about you. So it kind of had that connection that felt much more modern compared to this film. But then a lot of it, I do remember it being a bit more hijinksy.
I always have a problem. I wonder, what is the benefit of remaking a classic? What's the benefit of remaking Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Because you're never going to get a Sidney Poitier again. Like, that's just he's once in a lifetime type actor. This film may not, in quotations, age well or has dated things or whatever, but at the same time, why do it again? That's always the wonder, right? But I always say as well, if you have a take, may as well go for it. Like, I don't want just a proper redo of it. Like, and that's what I loved about Guess Who, was they had a take. They said, okay, let's make it about a black family, and it's the white boyfriend. Obvious thing to do. But it's not just that. They go that step further, and it kind of ties into what Jordan Peele was doing with Get Out as well, where that's from the black character's perspective of entering this white family. And it's obviously heightened because that's like a sci-fi horror film. But what I think Guess Who and Get Out have as almost like a reaction to this movie is the black experience for this situation is highly emotional. Because Percy Jones, in comparison to the Spencer Tracy character, he's pissed off. He's much more like the dad
in this film
to Sidney Poitier. And I think that's just such a fascinating thing, because in this movie, it's like the large part of it is you're watching these white liberal parents wring their hands and muse philosophically and go, because Spencer Tracy, it's not like his character's like an angry bigot or anything. But a part of it...
A lot of the times he's complaining about the fact that he doesn't have much time to stew over it rather than the situation itself, which obviously is a factor. But... And
the fear that he has, but it's an underlying fear that's very, very low-key. But with something like Get Out, the fear is at the forefront of the character's mind, and then it's accelerated and accentuated by the story that goes on there. And same with Guess Who. Like, Guess Who, it's like the anger and the from Bernie Mac's character Percy Jones that we keep talking about, which makes it great for some comedy stuff, but it also does bring in some of this idea of like, oh, here we go, like, here's this white person coming in and trying to claim something of ours. And I think that's just such an interesting thing, because that's in this movie too. Like, there's this reaction from his father about that as well. But I just wanted to ask sincerely, like, we did Guess Who, and we love it, and we do joke about, we love Bernie Mac, we love Percy Jones, but now we've watched the thing that it was obviously following up on, and it had different creative intents. It's made in a different time, like mid-2000s, and obviously it's less than this movie, but also it's got more things, it's got different things going on. Like, to me...
It's got different structure. It's not all set in one day.
Yeah, to me, like, that's the type of, I want to do my version of this type filmmaking that I would rather want to see than just, hey guys, we're redoing this beloved thing again, and now we're going to do all the references to it. Do you remember when Kirk said this line and now it's Spock saying it? Like, I don't want that. I want you to just go on your own fresh take, and that's kind of what the Guess Who and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner have with one another. It's like they're different movies, but they still tackle the same subject, but from different points of view. So that is it. I recommend Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
I do too.
Very good stuff. It's this doesn't have, although Sidney Poitier does get angry in this, it does not have the "they call me Mr. Tibbs" type line delivery.
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
That is...
Ripping off the Lion King, really?
That is, ripping off the Lion King, really? Yeah, tragic stuff. But
I did like, in his interactions with his parents, like, you do see him change the way he speaks. Like, he's calling him man.
Yeah, he calls his dad, "Come on, man." But I also like that his dad points out, like, you can't speak to me like that. Like, he has a moment.
You don't have the right.
Yeah, he's like, hey, you've gone a little bit too informal, you piece of shit. Well, her parents never get like that with her.
She's just too above everything.
Yeah, she's too perfectly sculpted in the way they wanted that they can't be like, hey, you've crossed the line with her, because it's like they made that line not able to be crossed. So what the fuck? But his parents is different. Like with his dad, it's like a level of like, hey, I know that we call each other man and we talk great all the time on the phone, but you can't just call me a piece of shit. Like, basically, it's like, you can't just come in here and say, fuck me. Fuck you. I've only been, that's as Sidney Poitier's mother said about it. I've only had an hour to think about this.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, that's insane, by the way. Now let's get on a plane to Geneva. It's like, these crazy kids. Now, I'm recommending a film. It's part of a trilogy of movies. Although this will bring up the question of, is this a Polish film or not?
Okay. Is this a thematic trilogy or like a literal, like, oh, part 2, part 3?
Thematic? Well, kind of a bit of both. So it's the Three Colors trilogy. That are French based because the colors of the French flag, but it's made by a Polish filmmaker. And the second one is set in Poland, but we're doing the first one first, which is blue. So the trilogy is blue, white, red. Mm-hmm. But we are going to do blue first. And I think the thing with, I've never seen these movies. They've always been on my watch list.
I know you've mentioned them once or twice in the past.
The thing I believe is like they are somewhat connected because there's characters that do come through, but you can watch them individually. They have their own tones, their own things, and the colors are obviously important. Like blue is going to be a visual motif in this, and the white one that I believe is set in Poland is white because it's in snowy Poland. So, like from what I understand, like the white, which if I'm correct, is the Polish one, is a comedy, and the blue is more sad because it's blue, and the red one I actually don't know much about, but it's from a Polish filmmaker, so we can talk about it more so next time on like how much of a thing is still that country's thing, because I did a film unit. I can't remember if you did this one as well, where in university we did like Australian cinema, and the whole big discussion point of that was, is this film Australian? How much of a percentage counts as Australian?
It was the film Australia, right?
No, it was Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo, that's right. Yes.
Finding Nemo, and it's like, here, I list you.
You told me about
Finding Nemo details, and it's like 90% of it is Australian stuff. It's like, oh, surely it's an Australian movie then. No, it's American. It's like, oh.
He made them change their mind, and it's like, nope, you had it right the first time.
Yeah, you were wrong. You were wrong. You were actually right, but you're now wrong.
Disney Pixar film. Yeah, it's American.
Yeah, obviously. What's that? 90% of it was Australian done? Fuck you. It's still American. So we can talk about that.
In Desert and Wilderness is an African film.
Yeah, fuck you.
By an American director, I think it was.
Yeah, there you go, but it's Polish.
X-Men Wolverine.
But, oh yeah. Forgot about that detail. But so everyone, we shall be talking about blue, which I'm sure will be. Is that what blue is in Polish?
No, that's white. I'm stupid. Niebieski is blue.
So much longer.
Yeah, Niebieski. It starts with nie too, like no, not Bieski.
And then ski at the end, like my last name.
Yeah, Niebieski.
Niebieski. So everyone, make sure to tune into that and watch it in the original language, which I think is French. We'll find out. Again, I only discovered in the last year that one of them's in Poland and it's by a Polish filmmaker. I knew this as like the Colors trilogy and that it's French because it's French flag colors, and that the Cornetto trilogy from Edgar Wright was partially inspired by this.
Oh, that's where I heard about it recently.
Type of thing.
Yeah,
because that has its different Cornetto colors.
Yeah, for some reason I looked up that trilogy recently and they mentioned like it was a reference to the Colors trilogy.
So that is it. Everyone, thank you for listening. You can find us on your social medias of Facebook and Twitter. You own them, by the way. You own them. You own those social medias. I always say you can find us on your social medias of Facebook and Twitter, and you've never called me out on it, but I've done it.
I understood what it meant. So.
Yeah, but you usually like to call me out on little things. Now, I did it to myself. I self-reported. It's your social media of Facebook and Twitter under Spit and Polish Presents.
I just thought you were talking to Zuckerberg and Musk.
Yeah, Musk. Who was the person who owned Twitter before?
I can't remember.
Find out next time on Spit and Polish Presents. You can find us on all of those podcasting sites and YouTube as well, where we upload our episodes, and there's other little nuggets and bonus goodies. And you can watch that video I made of Hugh Jackman laughing in the film Deception. Hugh laugh, man.
You can also check out the poll Giamatti Time, I think it was called.
Giamatti
He laughs
Time.
a little in that.
He laughs a little and he chuckles.
The true hero of Cody Banks 2 Destination London.
Flesh Rex, the death of Flesh Rex.
Yes, I think we got copyright strike.
Yeah, we
on that
did.
one.
They didn't deserve to do that. It was less than.
Yeah. You can also check
whatever.
out the famous scene from Vietnam War Story with John Snyder.
John Snyder saying he's just a guy.
Where, fun fact, we have been given the right to copyright strike that because I guess we were the first people on YouTube to upload it.
So now we own HBO's Vietnam War Story.
Yeah, HBO, it's ours.
It's ours now.
Don't upload it or else we'll flag you.
I can't wait to own Game of Thrones one day by this logic. Bye.
Is there a scene from Game of Thrones that no one's uploaded?
Oh, I bet there is.
Ooh,
I bet there is.
Get onto it.
I bet there is. I'm gonna show the good ending of the show that they never made. That will be my claim to fame.
If anyone has an idea of what scene from Game of Thrones we should upload, you should email us at spitandpolished@gmail.com.
Or if you have films to recommend, you can do so there or those social medias or in the
Distant
comments
second
of
priority.
YouTube. Yeah, as stated many times, this is the year where we're covering some older movies. Would love some recommendations from the listening people. I can't recall. Have we had any real older film recommendations from our listening people this year?
Krakatit.
Oh yeah, Krakatit. Well, that was one from before as well.
That's
We've had that on the
true.
list. We've had recommendations this year, but they've been all for newer-esque type movies or like of the 2000s onward type thing. But anyone out there wanting to pitch us older movies would love it. But if you don't, you can just pitch us any old movie, any regular film, I should say, and we will add it to our list and eventually cover it.
Yeah, we've only got a couple of months left, and one of them's spooky month, so...
So we've got to do old spooky movies at least in there. You and I, we've got to make sure to do something.
I think I've only got one...
Dracula.
Yeah, I literally think that I was thinking that one, because I think I only have one pick, and it's my next Hollywood one. Like my literal next Hollywood pick.
I have a few options for Spooky Month older films, but I need to narrow it down. I need to figure out, like, what one do I want to do? Like, I'll just say now, there's a Hitchcock option I have in my mind, and we haven't really
I've only
opened that can of worms yet.
I think I've only seen Psycho.
Oh, and it isn't Psycho, so there you go. You've never seen... Oh, boy,
I've
there's
seen
so many...
I've seen a play of North by Northwest.
Yeah, I think that's the one you would like the most of his movies, but I have a movie that's none of those, but we'll see when we get there.
Mhm.
Until next time, listening people, remember to be kind to each other. And did you guess who's coming to dinner? Did you actually think about, like, the title before walking in, like, if it was going to be in reference to Sidney Poitier? Because I forgot, like, the thing is, it's about his parents. And
oh yeah, that's a good point.
And their priest friend. That's the two instances of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Yeah, like surprise additions.
You think the title is about him, about like the obvious, like, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? It's my black fiance, but it's never him.
Yeah.
He's never the person where
It's
they're
not-
like,
it's
Guess
not-
Who's Coming to Dinner?
It's not a huge deal, and especially because really early on, like, the line is dropped. Yeah, but I guess you're right. There is technically like, did you think of this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do we end it, or do I talk about my other dreams?
Yeah, talk about your other dreams with
Yeah.
me and my wife and them.
Yeah, that was the one where she was most prevalent, and obviously, as you heard, she didn't really do too much in them. One of them was, I think we were at like an open day at like a high school or something,
Mm-hmm.
and we were walking through, and we went up to this one building, and you went kind of ahead, and I stayed behind. And there was this very tall guy that was standing in front of me. He like turned to look back at you, and he was dissing my friend Ryan. He was like, "Oh,
He was dissing your fly girl.
yeah, my fly guy Ryan." He was saying like, "Oh, that guy's not that tall." I'm like, "That's not true. Ryan is pretty tall." It's like, "Yeah, he's not as tall as me." And then my response was,
Yeah. Yeah, your
so
response
stupid.
was,
It was like, "Well, you haven't seen what he can do on stilts." And in the background, you were like putting on some stilts.
angrily.
No, you had no care in the world. You had no,
No, that
idea
was
what's
just
going.
coincidentally.
Yeah, it was just like,
happening.
oh, it's time for me to put on my stilts. That was the one that got me the most. My third one, you guys were very minor in it, but you did have a moment. We were doing basically an anime meetup at my house, watching a show, and someone rang the doorbell. Ding dong. I'm like, oh, you guys just sit here. I'll go, talk to them. And there were these like two ladies there, and they were like looking for donations or something like, oh, we had, a tragedy happen. We've lost our homes or something. We need, support from people. So we're going door to door to collect donations. Like, oh, that's really sad. And I had, the fly screen was still closed. Like, oh, I don't want to, let them inside or anything, but I'll still listen to them. And then for some reason, dream logic, just next to me now, there were two men that I logically knew were with them. And they were doing a very performative, like, oh, someone's calling me on the phone. What? You mean now we've lost our temporary home and we need more money? Whoa, that's really bad. And obviously I knew that they were bullshitting me. Like, mate, look, you're not even trying. You're clearly, trying to trick me. And, then they started like getting all jokey, like, oh, he caught us, but we're still going to try to intimidate him. And for some reason, even though I didn't hear their name, I knew what one of their names was, and they were named Ryan.
Oh, neat.
So I, just in a panic, I was, raising my voice, being like, Ryan, I know what you're doing, Ryan, to like, try to intimidate him. And then it was occurring to me like, oh man, Ryan's in the other room. He probably thinks I'm talking about him. And as the guy was like walking out, like, yeah, all right, whatever, you came like concerned, looking like, are you calling me? I'm like, no, it's all right.
That was real.
Did that really happen?
That really happened.
Oh, sorry, that wasn't a dream. That actually happened.
That happened. I came out and I was like, what's going on here? And then you told me this story and I didn't see any of these people and I wagged my finger at you and said, naughty Bartek.
I've always been meaning to tell you about the dreams, but I'm glad it's now in a recorded format, so now we can always re-listen to them and hear about what Ryan can do on his stilts.